Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative, and I am Ryan Bowling. Thank you for joining me. One of the things that bothers me the most as an American citizen and just as a human being made in the image of God, one of the things that bothers me the most is when people disrespect and dishonor our law enforcement and our military. Now, I know law enforcement and the military is composed of imperfect people. I understand that. And that's in any institution. There's always going to be imperfect people. But it really bothers me when people generally disrespect our law enforcement and our military. A large amount of our law enforcement and military do their jobs, and they do their jobs well. And they sacrifice their lives to protect other people and to protect this country. Case in point, I found out in an article I'm going to read to you guys, very short article, that the Biden administration was having some type of event that would be dealing with the school shooting, and that a substantial list of Border Patrol officers were basically uninvited from this event. Yeah, I mean, they were uninvited from this event. So when I read this, it really bothered me. Because when I actually read the headline and read the first paragraph, it really bothered me. It was like, really, what is his reasoning for uninviting these individuals who were involved, who basically, these patrol officers who basically sacrificed their life to save the lives of others? Let's find out what the reasonings are. So let's get into this. Article says Biden administration officials uninvited many of the Border Patrol agents and other law enforcement officers who responded to the Robb Elementary School shooting from a meeting with the president scheduled for Sunday. Despite the event being planned for a large open space facility, administration officials cited space as a reason for the retracted invitations. That makes no sense at all. Space? You mean tell me you didn't have enough space? All the law enforcement officers that were involved in that shooting should have been there. They should be the first ones on the list. There's no excuse, in my opinion, for this. But let's read on. Law enforcement officers who responded to the school shooting at Robb Elementary School on Tuesday morning received an invitation to meet with President Biden during his planned visit to Aveda on Sunday afternoon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. According to a senior Customs and Border Protection source, the officers received the invitation late last week. Many had accepted and were scheduled to attend the private address from the president. Most are now being informed they are no longer invited. The meeting specifically to address the law enforcement officers who responded to the shooting is part of of President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden's visit to address the families of the victims of last week's school shooting. Although the meeting is planned at a location that can accommodate hundreds, more than 90% of the Border Patrol agents who were invited are now being told time and space are limited and they cannot attend. That's a shame. More than 80 Border Patrol agents, including several members of the Border Patrol's BORTAC or BORTAC special response team involved in the response to the school shooting received the invitation. Late Saturday evening, the Border Patrol was notified the president could only meet with 7 of the more than 80 agents who responded to the shooting. In addition to the Border Patrol BORTAC tactical unit members who killed the shooter after entering the classroom, others assisted with removing students and teachers from harm's way. They also provided emergency medical attention to the survivors of the brutal attack. The sources say the limitations likely apply. Now, this is their excuse. The source says the limitations likely apply to other large law enforcement agencies, such as the Texas Department of Public Safety Highway Patrol, which participated in the active shooter response as well. The source says deciding which officers will be allowed to attend on such short notice will be difficult. Now, let me say something before I close this. I don't know who this source is. The article doesn't name who this source is. This says the source. So I don't know how accurate this source is or whatever. I don't know how accurate this source is. I'm going to assume that this is accurate information. This article is reporting the information objectively, but I don't know why they're not naming the source, so I can't say anything about that. But if this is true, then this is an embarrassment to our country. These agents are still traumatized by the event. The venue was large, and they are not going to buy this excuse, the source told Breitbart, Texas. The source says mid-level managers from the Border Patrol were tasked to decide who will attend and feels those left out will assume their role in the event was unimportant. It appears now as if this planned meeting was nothing more than a photo opportunity with the law enforcement community, the source says. And that's the end of that article right there. And this to me is a very embarrassing situation right here. If this is true, like I said, it didn't name the source, so I don't know what source this is. I don't know if the source paid them, said we don't want to say anything. I don't know. But assuming that this is true, and assuming that the Biden administration did do this to these Border Patrol officers, which in my heart and in my opinion, I believe he did, I believe they did, then this is an embarrassment, and I believe it's totally wrong. Let me say this. I don't believe, and I'm giving my opinion, I don't believe that the Biden administration was for law enforcement and the military then and is for it now. I always believed since they've been in office, and even prior to that, that they were not supportive of the military and not supportive of law enforcement. Now, you may say, why do I believe that? Because during all the time of the riots during 2020, even though Biden wasn't president then, he was a far leftist liberal as far as I'm concerned, did not support it at all, never spoke out against what Black Lives Matter and Antifa was doing. When he got in office, he pushed, his administration pushed transgenderism on the military, pushing that idea on the military instead of focusing on building up our military and making it strong and making it a formidable force against people in countries that don't like America, okay? Instead of doing that, he's sitting there spending all his time trying to push for transgender rights. And so to me, in my opinion, that's unsupportive of the military and unsupportive of law enforcement officers. You should be trying to build them up. What world is this man living in? What was this administration living in? What was the radicals living in? Not in the real world. So this is a shame to me, and it's an embarrassment. There's no way that this should have been done. There should have been a way to accommodate that. The Biden administration should have been breaking their neck trying to find out how they're going to accommodate all these law enforcement officers that were involved in that shooting. Because if it wasn't for these, and I know there's some arguments going on about, okay, what the officers should have done and what they should have done. Why come they didn't do this and how come they didn't do that? A lot of that comes from people that really don't understand law enforcement and really don't understand all the intel and the information that goes into events like that. A lot of times you just don't bum rush events like that. Let me say something about that as well. What I found out, because I'm learning as I go along as well. With articles I read, more information given to me, that they couldn't get inside the room because it was designed to keep people out, to keep people like that shooter out. Now, I talked about him getting in before in the last article. I'm not going to get into that. So they couldn't get in. They couldn't breach it. They couldn't get in. They needed to get the keys from someone else to be able to get in. So there's so many different things about that. It's like learning where the shooter is and knowing where he's not, and where he is. And all that it has to be taken into consideration. So we're not going to get into that. The point is that a lot of these officers sacrificed their lives to save as many of these young people as they could. And had they not done that, more could have lost their lives. And for the Biden administration not to invite these individuals, to say you're uninvited, to me, shows that he never was in support of them anyway. The Biden administration is not in support of law enforcement, in my opinion, or the military. They want to destroy the military and they want to destroy law enforcement. Why? I believe because they're part socialists. And socialism is just a step below communism. And the reason why I say that is because in every socialist/communist country, when they would take over, one of the main things that they would do is they would destroy the military and destroy the law enforcement. And what I mean by destroy is they would reshape it. They would reshape it to fit their agenda so that they would have law enforcement and military that protected their regime. not the people. So if you spoke out against the regime, the military would get you, or i.e. the law enforcement officer would get you. Oh, you spoke out against the communist government? You disagreed with their totalitarian government? Okay, we taking you in. That's what I believe they're trying to build. So they have to demoralize the law enforcement officers and have to demoralize the military and break it down in order to rebuild it. Because they know most Americans are not dumb enough to go along with their radical regimes, so they got to do it by stealth and deception. They're liars and deceivers, in my opinion. So that's what I wanted to say about it. What do you guys think about that? This is an embarrassment. It's wrong. And to me, there is utterly no excuse at all. But I salute the Border Patrol officers. I salute you, and I love you, and God bless you all. What do you guys think about this? Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, share this video, subscribe. God bless you all, and see you again on another Black Conservative with Ryan Bowling.